Game of Thrones needs to find its killer instinct again. Like many people, I first became aware of Game of Thrones when the Red Wedding reaction videos began bubbling up on YouTube in late 2013. In the clips, it all looked like some annoying stunt until I wised up and watched what they were watching. The scene in the rain. Watch Game of Thrones trailer The Independent. The answer was, of course, was a resounding yes. In the 5 years that, except it isn't really true anymore, is it? As the hype machine, the first warning sign was actually the episode Battle of the Bast *RDS, towards the end of season 6. Now, let's not, but the good guy won and, for the first time, we got exactly what we thought we wanted, which was to see Jon Snow repeatedly punch Ramsay Bolton in the face and then Sansa exact a brutal, poetic revenge using his rabid dogs. And no one we cared. Into season 7, and the next truly knife-edge moment came when Jaime Lannister made a foolhardy lunge at Daenerys' dragon after watching it decimate half his army on the way back from plundering Highgarden. Again the whole battle. By the time we got to the site of Deep Breath, Jon Snow, Davos, Gendry, the Hound, Tormund, Thuras of Myr and Beric Dondarrion all teaming up for a mission beyond the Wall, I started to wonder if I was watching Game of Thrones or an Avengers spin-off. What made Eastwatch? The point being that, while the scale and scope of Game of Thrones battle sequences have improved to the point each episode is basically a trip to your local multiplex, in recent seasons it's felt like the writers have lost sight of what made us really fall for the show in first place. That horrible, vulnerable feeling Westeros, like the *TTY real world we inhabit, is brutal and unfair and full of tragic endings. Maybe Benioff and Weiss have done it on purpose. Maybe they're saving. Related Game of Thrones Season 8 premiere. Microsoft guess.
Raindrops, drop